We live in an age of unprecedented exposure, an era where every thought can be broadcast, every feeling monetized, every private moment turned into public content. We have been sold a lie that visibility equals value, that transparency is strength, that sharing is synonymous with authenticity. This lie has created a generation of psychological open books, people who leak their power through their words while wondering why they feel constantly drained, manipulated, and stuck. The truth is more ancient, more counterintuitive, and more powerful. True strength, authentic influence, and lasting power are not built through constant expression, but through conscious restraint. Your words are not just sounds or text. They are declarations of your internal state, maps to your psychology, and currency in the economy of human relationships. When you speak without strategy, you are not just communicating, you are negotiating, and often, you are negotiating against yourself. This is not about becoming secretive or paranoid. It is about becoming sovereign. It is about transitioning from being a reactor, someone whose internal state is determined by external stimuli, to being an actor, someone who consciously chooses their responses based on long-term strategy rather than short-term emotion. The path to this sovereignty begins with understanding the 7 fundamental ways your current communication patterns are systematically disarming you. The psychological foundation, why we leak. Before we dissect the specific traps, we must understand the engine that drives them. Human beings are storytelling, social animals with 2 conflicting drives, the drive for connection and the drive for status. Our neurological wiring, shaped over millennia, compels us to seek belonging within a tribe. Silence, in our ancestral past, could mean ostracization, which was often a death sentence. Thus, we evolved to fill silences, to offer information as social currency, to show we are cooperative and valuable group members. Simultaneously, we possess a drive for status, to be recognized, respected, and secure within the hierarchy. We want to show our competence, defend our position, and assert our value. Modern society, however, has scrambled these signals. The boardroom, the digital social sphere, the complex networks of modern life are not the planes of our ancestors. The rules have changed, but our instincts have not. We use Pleistocene psychology in a digital age, and the mismatch is catastrophic for our power. We leak because our biology screams at us to bond and to boast, even when the context makes those actions self-sabotaging. We confuse the feeling of connection, the dopamine hit of sharing, with the reality of strategic positioning. We mistake the relief of emotional outburst for effective conflict resolution. We are wired for a world that no longer exists, and until we override that wiring with conscious understanding, we will remain servants to our own tongues. This brings us to the 7 specific architectural flaws in your communication, the points where pressure builds and your power leaks out. Trap 1. The silence vacuum. When your discomfort becomes their weapon. Picture the most high-stakes conversation you've had recently. A salary negotiation. A pivotal business deal. A confrontation that needed resolution. Recall the moment the dialogue hit a natural pause. What happened in your body? For most, a subtle but unmistakable anxiety begins to hum. The pause stretches, and it transforms from a blank space into a judgment. It feels heavy, accusatory. Your mind races. Are they bored? Did I say something wrong? Do they disagree and are too polite to say it? This experience is the silence vacuum. It is the acute discomfort with conversational pause, and it is one of the most universally exploited psychological vulnerabilities. The neuroscience of discomfort. When silence falls, particularly in a charged context, the brain's threat detection systems can activate. The amygdala, which processes fear, may interpret the lack of social feedback as potential social threat. Cortisol, the stress hormone, can rise. Your instinct is to flee the discomfort, and since physical flight is rarely an option, you flee verbally. You rush in to fill the void with sound, any sound, to reestablish the social connection and quiet the alarm bells in your head. The strategist's play. The person across from you, if they are aware, may be intentionally allowing this vacuum to form. They are not uncomfortable. They are waiting. In negotiations, interrogations, sales, and leadership, this is a calculated tactic. The principle is simple. The party most uncomfortable with silence is the party with less power, and they will often pay to end it. They will pay with information, with concessions, with softened demands. Think of a police interrogation. The officer asks a direct question and then falls silent, maintaining steady eye contact. The suspect, swimming in the void, will often talk to fill it, revealing details, contradicting themselves, offering more than was asked. The silence itself becomes the pressure. In a business meeting, after you state your price or your terms, you stop talking. The client, shifting in their seat, will often jump in with an objection, a qualifier, or even a counteroffer just to break the tension. You, by merely holding your peace, have forced them to reveal their hand. The reprogramming, becoming comfortable in the void. Mastering the silence vacuum is not about becoming stoic or cold. It is about reframing what silence means. 1. Relabel the sensation. The next time you feel that anxious urge to speak into a pause, consciously label it. Tell yourself, this is not danger. This is pressure, and pressure is a tool. The physiological feelings are the same, buttery stomach, quickened pulse, but the narrative changes from "I must escape" to "this is where leverage is built." 2. Become the observer. Shift your focus from your own internal discomfort to external observation. When silence descends, your task is not to end it. Your task is to study. Watch the other person's microexpressions. Do their eyes flicker? Do they touch their face or adjust their posture? Where does their gaze go? You are no longer a participant drowning in anxiety. You are a scientist collecting data. This cognitive shift alone can neutralize the discomfort. 3. Practice the pause deliberately. In low-stakes conversations, with a barista, a colleague, a friend, practice allowing natural pauses to linger for just 2 seconds longer than feels normal. Do not jump to the next topic. Notice what happens. Often, the other person will volunteer more interesting, more revealing information in that extended space. You are training your neural pathways to interpret silence not as a threat, but as an opportunity. 4. The power of the nonverbal hold. When the pause happens, do not look away nervously. Maintain calm, relaxed eye contact. Nod slowly once, as if considering deeply what was just said, and then return to neutral stillness. This nonverbal cue communicates that the silence is thoughtful, not awkward. It projects control. The ultimate message of mastered silence is profound. I am complete in myself. My value and my security are not dependent on your constant validation or your conversational engagement. I can inhabit this space, and I am perfectly at ease here. This is not arrogance. It is existential confidence. And in the realm of human dynamics, confidence is the bedrock of power. When you stop fearing the vacuum, you begin to use it. You learn that what you don't say often speaks louder than what you do. You force others to project their own anxieties, insecurities, and eagerness into the empty space. And in doing so, they will hand you exactly what you need to know. Trap 2. The victory lap. How celebrating too soon dilutes your power. Human psychology is wired for a feedback loop: effort, success, reward, recognition. When we achieve something difficult, our brain releases a cocktail of dopamine and other neurochemicals that create a sense of euphoria and invincibility. This is the victory state. And in this state, we are biologically compelled to seek the final component of the loop: social recognition. This is the origin of the victory lap. We want to share our win. We want to narrate the struggle, highlight our cleverness, and receive the applause of our tribe. It feels natural, deserved, and good. On the surface, it seems like a harmless, even positive, act of sharing good news. But this instinct, when followed without filter, is one of the most strategically costly mistakes you can make. The 3 costs of the public victory lap. 1. Education of your opposition. The moment you explain how you succeeded, you demystify your process. You turn unique insight into public knowledge. Your competitor, your rival within your organization, or even a future adversary now has a case study on your methodology. They can analyze your moves, identify your patterns, and develop counter-strategies. You have voluntarily given away your playbook. The strategist understands that methods are more valuable than results, because methods are reusable. Protect them. 2. The cultivation of envy. Envy is not admiration. Admiration says, "That's great. I'm inspired." Envy says, "That should be mine." Public victory laps are the single most effective way to cultivate quiet, simmering envy in your environment. When you broadcast your success, you inevitably hold a mirror up to others' lack of progress. You trigger their own feelings of inadequacy and stagnation. People may smile and congratulate you, but you have planted a seed of resentment that can grow into passive aggression, undermining, or active sabotage. Envy is a shadow emotion. It works best in the dark. Don't water the seed by shining a spotlight on your garden. 3. The depletion of mystique and leverage. Power often resides in perception. If you are seen as consistently lucky or hardworking, you remain approachable, perhaps even dismissible. But if your successes are visible yet your methods are opaque, you cultivate mystique. People begin to wonder, how does she keep doing it? This mystique creates a perceptual advantage. It makes your abilities seem innate, your wins inevitable. This increases your leverage in future negotiations and commands a different kind of respect. The victory lap shatters this mystique. It says, see, it was just this simple trick. You go from being a magician to a technician. The strategic alternative, the silent win. The principle is not to never enjoy success, but to decouple the achievement from the public narrative about it. Celebrate privately, not publicly. Share your genuine joy with a supremely trusted inner circle, a partner, a mentor, one utterly reliable friend. Let the celebration be about the feeling, not the storytelling. This satisfies the biological need for bonding reward without the strategic cost. Master the art of the deflective response. When people notice your success and ask about it, have prepared, non-revealing responses that satisfy curiosity without providing data. It was a good team effort, and the timing worked out. I got focused on a solution and it came together. A bit of luck and a lot of late nights. The goal is to be gracious, not revealing. You acknowledge the win without dissecting it. Channel the energy forward. The dopamine hit from success is potent fuel. The strategic mind harvests this fuel and directs it not toward retroactive storytelling, but toward the next objective. The momentum of a win is a precious resource. Don't burn it off in celebratory smoke. Use it to propel the next climb. The most powerful people in any field are often those who are already working on the next thing while the world is still applauding their last thing. Understand the value of being underestimated. There is immense freedom in being perceived as less than you are. It lowers expectations, reduces scrutiny, and creates opportunities for surprise. The victory lap raises expectations and paints a target. When you win silently, you preserve the option to be underestimated in the future. This is not about hiding your light. It's about choosing when and where to illuminate for maximum effect. The silent winner understands a profound truth. The only approval you need for your victory is your own. External validation is a fickle currency that often costs you real power to obtain. Let your results stand as monuments. Let others write the stories about how they were built. Your silence will make the monuments seem taller. Trap 3. The anger response. Why emotional outbursts are a signature of weakness. Anger feels powerful. In the moment of eruption, there is a surge of energy, a sense of righteous clarity, a feeling of boundaries being enforced. Culturally, we often romanticize anger as passion, as strength, as the fire of a leader. We see fictional heroes use anger to motivate, to intimidate, to conquer. This is perhaps the most dangerous misunderstanding of human psychology in the pursuit of power. In reality, an uncontrolled anger response is not a display of strength. It is a catastrophic leak of power. It is the moment you publicly announce that you have lost control of the single most important battlefield, yourself. The anatomy of a power leak. When someone provokes you with an insult, a disrespectful action, an unfair accusation, and you respond with visible anger, several critical things happen. 1. You reveal your trigger points. You provide a precise map of your insecurities, values, and vulnerabilities. You show the world exactly what buttons to push. If you blow up when your intelligence is questioned, adversaries now know that questioning your intelligence is an effective way to disrupt your focus and decision-making. If you rage at being disrespected, they know that perceived slights can throw you off balance. You have handed them the manual to your own psychological remote control. 2. You relinquish strategic control. Anger is an amygdala hijack. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic, strategy, and long-term planning, goes offline. In a state of anger, you are not choosing your actions. You are being driven by limbic system impulses. You are literally not in your right mind. Any decision made, any word spoken in this state is statistically likely to be a poor one. You have allowed another person to dictate your internal state and, by extension, the quality of your choices. 3. You cement a perception of instability. People remember emotional outbursts far more vividly than they remember the facts that precipitated them. Your reputation becomes volatile, emotional, hard to predict. In professional and leadership contexts, this is fatal. No one invests deeply in, promotes, or follows someone who appears unstable. Stability is the foundation of trust. Anger shatters that foundation. 4. You invalidate your own position. However righteous your underlying grievance, anger often becomes the story. The discussion ceases to be about the original issue and becomes about your reaction. You move from being a wrong party to being the aggressor in the social narrative. Your valid point is lost in the spectacle of your emotion. The strategic response, from reaction to calculated action. The goal is not to become emotionless or to suppress feelings until you combust. It is to intercept the reflex and choose a response that serves your long-term power position. The pause protocol. When you feel the heat rise, your first and most important action is to do nothing. Do not speak. Do not move aggressively. If seated, settle back into your chair. Take a slow, deliberate breath that focuses on a long exhale. This physical pause creates space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, sovereignty is possible. The inquiry maneuver. Instead of matching aggression with aggression, respond with detached, cool curiosity. This is deeply unnerving to a provocateur. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? What's the specific concern behind that statement? After a tirade, a calm, quiet. Are you finished? This tactic does several things. It forces the aggressor to justify their position rationally, which they often cannot do. It exposes the emotional core of their attack. Most importantly, it demonstrates that their attempt to trigger you has failed completely. Your calm is the mirror that shows them their own chaos. The energy transformation. Visualize the angry energy not as something to expel, but as raw fuel. Your body has mobilized energy for a fight. Instead of wasting it on a verbal brawl, consciously convert it. Channel it into intense focus on the task at hand. Use it to fuel a ruthless, disciplined analysis of the situation. Use it to fuel a ruthless, disciplined analysis of the situation. Anger transformed into cold, focused action is one of the most potent forces in existence. Establish consequences, not reactions. Power is not shown in the heat of the moment, but in the calm administration of consequences. Instead of yelling, "You can't talk to me like that," you might later, with total calm, say, "The way you communicated earlier was unprofessional." It undermines our ability to work effectively. If it happens again, I will have to take specific, concrete action. This is power. This shows you are not controlled by the moment, but are the architect of the future. The supreme lesson is this. If someone can make you angry, they can control you. They can divert your time, focus, and energy on command. By mastering your anger response, you make yourself ungovernable by the chaos of others. You become a neutral, formidable force. Your silence in the face of provocation, your calm in the eye of their storm, becomes your most intimidating weapon. It signals not a lack of passion, but a reserve of power so deep that petty provocations cannot hope to reach it. Trap 4. The liquid confession, the false intimacy of lowered defenses. There is a unique and potent form of self-sabotage that occurs not in conflict, but in its apparent opposite, camaraderie. It happens in this safe spaces, after-work drinks, late-night conversations, bonding sessions where guards are down. Facilitated by alcohol, fatigue, or the manufactured intimacy of a shared experience, the walls come down. In this state, the human craving for connection overpowers strategic sense. This is the domain of the liquid confession. You reveal things. Personal frustrations. I think my boss is incompetent. Private fears. I'm terrified this project will fail and I'll be exposed. Secret ambitions. I'm planning to leave this company in 6 months. Past mistakes. Present vulnerabilities. It feels like bonding. It feels like authenticity. The chemical release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, that accompanies sharing reinforces the behavior. You believe you are building trust. forging a real connection. You are, in fact, building a prison. Why the liquid confession is strategic suicide. 1. Information is immortal and context is fluid. In the moment, you are sharing with Sarah from marketing, who is laughing with you and buying the next round. You perceive her as a friend in this context. But contexts change. Sarah may become Sarah, your competitor for the next promotion. Sarah may have a falling out with you. Sarah may simply forget the context of the conversation, but remember the information. That private criticism of your boss is no longer a bonding secret. It is potential leverage, a piece of gossip, or a data point that colors her perception of your loyalty. You have given away a piece of your security, and you have zero control over its future use. 2. It confuses chemical intimacy for earned trust. Alcohol, fatigue, and shared emotional experiences lower inhibitions and simulate the feeling of closeness. This is artificial intimacy. True, earned trust is built slowly, through consistent action and proven discretion over time, in the clear light of day. Liquid confusions mistake the shortcut for the destination. You feel close, so you act as if you are in a trusted relationship, without having done the work to build one. 3. It creates silent obligation and power imbalance. When you give someone a secret, you subtly create a dynamic where you are now invested in their continued goodwill. You need them to not use the information against you. This can make you hesitant to disagree with them, compete with them, or hold them accountable in the future. They may not even consciously wield this power, but the imbalance exists. You have, in a sense, become their client. The strategic socializer. How to connect without exposing. This does not mean you must be a closed-off, paranoid statue at social events. Charisma and connection are powerful assets. The key is to separate personal connection from strategic exposure. Master the art of effective disclosure. You can share feelings without sharing facts. You can be vulnerable about your emotional state without revealing compromising data. Instead of, my boss, John, is a micromanaging idiot who's going to get us all fired. Try. Some days the management style here can be really frustrating. It's a challenge to navigate. The second statement is authentic, relatable, and builds connection, but it exposes no specific, weaponizable information. It discusses a general experience, not a specific target. Become the vault, not the leak. In social settings where inhibitions are low, consciously shift your role from speaker to listener. Ask open-ended questions. Show genuine interest. People in a state of lowered defenses love to talk about themselves. Let them. Collect information. Be a sympathetic, engaged confidant for them. You build rapport and social capital while gathering intelligence and protecting your own position. Leave the interaction knowing more about them than they know about you. Employ the fogging technique. If directly pressed for personal information in such a setting, learn to answer in a way that seems responsive but gives nothing away. What do you really think of the new CEO? It's a big change from the last one, that's for sure. Time will tell how it all shakes out. This is agreeable, non-committal, and closes down the line of questioning without seeming evasive. Set a pre-commitment boundary. Decide, sober and alone, what your lines are. What topics are absolutely off-limits in any casual setting? E.g., detailed career plans, specific grievances with named individuals, financial specifics, intimate relationship details. Write them down. When you enter a social environment, that boundary is already set. Your future, slightly inebriated self will thank your past, sober self for the guardrails. The most charismatic, well-liked, and yet formidable people are often those who are open in their energy but closed in their specifics. They laugh easily, listen intently, make others feel seen and heard, and leave everyone feeling they've had a great conversation. But if you replay the conversation later, you realize they revealed almost nothing of strategic value. They traded in empathy and attention, not in confidential data. They are fortresses with welcoming courtyards. You enjoy the space, but you never get near the armory. Protect your data, your inner world, your true assessments, your precise plans, your raw vulnerabilities, is the command center of your sovereignty. Grant access only to those who have proven, through time and action in the clear light of day, that they are loyal allies to your cause. Everyone else gets the curated tour. Trap 5. The overexplanation. How justifying yourself erodes authority. The need to be understood is a deep human yearning. When our actions, decisions, or presence are questioned, a powerful instinct engages, the instinct to explain, to clarify, to ensure the other person sees our logic, our constraints, our good intentions. We want the record to be correct, our side to be heard. This instinct, when unrestrained, is the over-explanation trap. It is the verbal equivalent of pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The more you pour, explain, the more you lose authority. The psychology of the plea. When you launch into a detailed justification, especially unsolicited, you are operating from a subconsciously submissive frame. You have accepted the other person's premise that you owe them an account. You have placed them in the role of judge and yourself in the role of defendant. Every additional sentence is a plea for their understanding, their approval, their pardon. This dynamic, regardless of the content of your words, broadcasts low status. The strategic costs of over. Trap 6. The unsolicited competence trap. Why fixing problems for free makes you the permanent fixer. You have a skill. You see a problem others miss. You know a better, faster, more elegant way to do something. The instinct, often born of genuine desire to help or to demonstrate your value, is to speak up, to offer the solution, to correct the error before it causes damage. This is the unsolicited competence trap. You believe you are being a team player, a leader, a valuable asset. And in the immediate moment, you may be. But strategically, over the long term, this habit systematically devalues your expertise and can turn potential allies into resentful adversaries. The twofold strategic damage. 1. It manufactures resentment. The enemy creation. No one likes to be told they are wrong, especially in public. No one enjoys having their work or their method fixed without asking. The act of unsolicited correction, however well-intentioned, is often perceived as a status challenge. It communicates, subliminally, I am more competent than you. You bruise the other person's ego, their sense of professional pride and autonomy. They may smile and thank you, but you have created a silent enemy who may now watch for your stumble. As the strategist Robert Greene crystallized in the context of superiors, never outshine the master. This principle applies laterally as well. Outshining peers without invitation creates envy and rivalry. 2. It devalues your expertise. The commoditization of your skill. When you give away your best insights and solutions freely and constantly, you teach people that your genius is cheap and plentiful. You become the go-to fixer, which sounds good until you realize that fixers are rarely seen as visionary leaders. They are seen as tools, extremely useful, but tools nonetheless. Your interventions become expected, routine, and unremarkable. You train people to bring you half-finished problems because they know you'll complete them. Your time and mental energy become a free public utility. The strategic application of competence, from tool to architect. Your knowledge and problem-solving ability are capital. The goal is to invest this capital for maximum return, not to distribute it as loose change. Let small failures happen. The strategic non-intervention. This is a difficult but crucial discipline. If you see a peer heading for a minor, recoverable mistake, let it happen. Do not preempt it. Why? Lesson internalization. People learn far more deeply from the consequences of their own actions than from your preemptive advice. Value demonstration. When the mistake occurs and causes friction, the value of your solution is now concrete and apparent. You are no longer preventing a hypothetical problem. You are solving a real and felt pain point. The creation of the ask. After the stumble, they are now in a position of need. They may come to you. This is the critical shift. When they ask for help, your competence is no longer an unsolicited critique. It is a requested service. Your position changes from busybody to savior. Your social and strategic capital increases dramatically. Master the if asked protocol. Reserve your most valuable insights, your cleverest shortcuts, and your strategic corrections for moments when you are explicitly asked for your input. This creates a filter that ensures your energy is spent where it is truly valued and will be most impactful. It also builds a reputation that you are not a meddler, but a reliable resource when needed. When you must intervene, use Socratic questioning. If a mistake is too catastrophic to allow, or if you are in a genuine leadership role, avoid delivering the solution outright. Instead, Guide the person to discover it themselves through questions. What's the goal of this approach? Have you considered what might happen if X variable changes? What alternative paths did you evaluate? This method protects the other person's sense of autonomy and ownership. They figure it out, while still steering the ship. It is mentoring, not correcting, and it builds loyalty rather than resentment. Bundle and showcase your value periodically, not constantly. Instead of leaking your competence in drips and drabs every day, allow it to accumulate and demonstrate it in larger, more defined ways. Let a project that showcases a new system you designed. Deliver a presentation that synthesizes your insights into a compelling strategy. In these forums, your competence is on display as part of a larger, value-adding contribution, not as a series of small corrections to others' work. Think of yourself not as a free clinic, but as a sought-after specialist. The clinic is always open, dealing with minor ailments for free. The specialist requires a referral, has a waiting list, and commands a premium. Your goal is to be the specialist. Protect your diagnostic insight. Wait for the consultation request. When you speak, let it be because your expertise has been formally engaged, not because you saw an open window. This transforms your competence from a common tool into a respected authority. Trap 7. The Promise Prison. How your word can become your warden. A promise is a future contract written with present words. In moments of social pressure, desire to please, or simple optimism, we make them easily. To a boss, I'll have that full report on your desk by 8 a.m. Monday. To a friend, I'll help you move all day Saturday. To ourselves, starting tomorrow, I'm completely changing my diet. These promises feel like bridges. They connect the present moment of intention to a future reality of achievement. But without extreme discretion, they become prisons. The promise prison is the cell you build for your future self by overcommitting your present self. The psychology of the overpromise. We overpromise to buy social capital now. We want to relieve the pressure of a request, to avoid disappointing someone in the moment, to project an image of capability and willingness. The anxiety of saying no or maybe feels greater than the future anxiety of an overwhelming deadline. So, we mortgage our future time, energy, and peace for present comfort. The strategic catastrophe of the broken word. 1. Erosion of trust and reputation. Your word is the foundation of your personal brand. Every promise kept is a brick in a fortress of reliability. Every promise broken is a crack in that wall. In the realm of power, being known as someone whose yes means yes and whose no means no is priceless. It makes you predictable in the best way, predictably dependable. Overpromising and underdelivering does the opposite. It marks you as unreliable, a dreamer, someone who cannot master their own reality. This reputation is incredibly difficult to rebuild. 2. The psychological toll of open loops. When you make a promise, your brain creates an open loop, a task that requires closure. Until that promise is fulfilled, it consumes background cognitive energy, creating a low-grade, persistent stress known as the Zeigarnik effect. A life littered with unmet promises is a life of chronic psychic drain. You are constantly aware of your own debts. 3. The loss of autonomy and strategic flexibility. A promise binds you to a specific future action. Circumstances change. New, better opportunities arise. Your energy levels fluctuate. But a promise, once given, creates a moral, and sometimes social or professional, obligation that overrides new data. You lose the ability to pivot nimbly. You are fighting the last war you promised to fight, not the current one you need to win. The discipline of the strategic promise. The goal is to make your word so rare and so ironclad that when you do give it, it moves mountains. This requires a ruthless discipline in the moment of commitment. The pause and assess ritual. Treat any request for a commitment as a non-urgent event, even if it's presented as urgent. Your default first response should be a non-committal pause. Let me check my system and get back to you in an hour. I need to think about my capacity for that before I can commit. Let me see what that would entail, and I'll give you a clear answer by end of day. This pause breaks the social pressure of the immediate yes. It gives you time to consult your calendar, your energy levels, and your priorities. It allows you to respond from a place of strategy, not reactivity. Under-promise as a rule, not an exception, Habitually scale back the initial commitment. If you are 90% sure you can deliver something in 2 days, promise it in 3. If you can dedicate a full day, promise a focused half day. This builds in a buffer for the unforeseen and sets you up to overdeliver.